she's going to stay in it. All right, moving right along, we're going to move right into public comment. The first speaker slip I have is Francesca Sweet, and Miss Sweet will be followed by Richard O'Donnell. Miss Sweet. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the City Council and other city leaders. My name is Francesca Sweet, and I come to you not only as a concerned resident for my property, but on behalf of our neighborhood and our greater community. As I'm sure you are aware, the grove that borders Palm and Alvarado Avenues, otherwise known as the Heaney property, has recently sold to Diversified Pacific. Since our home shares a property line with the grove, we were contacted by the developer in person and in writing, assuring us of their desire to conduct themselves respectfully, communicatively, and legally. However, we have been saddened of some of the recent occurrences to the contrary. Our fellow neighbors have individually received differing and conflicting information as to intent and the actual plans. Diversified Pacific has unfortunately had previous issues with fulfilling what they promised and what the City of Redlands asked of them. An example of this was their development by the airport. I am deeply concerned that their plans now show a request for more than 30 homes when the developer first stated to us much fewer. More specifically, on Saturday, January 27th at about 7:30 in the morning, we were awoken by a group of unknown people in the groves, blaring music and disturbing the trees. When my husband went around to ask what they were doing, we had received no notification of this. They had no visible business name, license, permit on any of their vehicles or attire. In addition, they gave us a false phone number to call. We are concerned about what Diversified Pacific is doing. We are concerned that they will simply start bulldozing soon. We are concerned that they will ask for forgiveness later instead of permission now. They could irreversibly destroy one of the last original groves in Redlands before even coming to you for a single permit. They could skip steps like environmental impact studies and various approvals. Once the damage is done, it is too late. We don't trust them, not one bit. Their intent is questionable and alarming in the harvesting of the grove before even the proper time. In the past, it has not been done until February or March, and that they would choose to employ contractors that were not able to give proper ID or information makes us trust them even less. On the advice of our legal counsel, we are asking the city to order a restraining or injunction against Diversified Pacific to protect this grove
Thank you, Ms.
until
Sweet.
plans are approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. O'Donnell? Mr. O'Donnell will be followed by Joshua Hall.
Good evening, Mayor, members
sir.
of the council. I have a new neighbor, Diversified Pacific Communities. You may be familiar with them. They recently purchased the Heaney Orange Grove up on Palm, also a barn, 2 houses with some history. They intend to turn this large property record, clearly an agricultural area, into 30 or so little properties, a couple bigger ones with the historic houses, and a strategically placed little grove-ish park, like a fig leaf but with an orange theme. I'm sure that the homeless will appreciate a new campsite. Now, homage is frequently paid to the local citrus industry here. There is even a citrus preservation commission. I could quote City of Redlands measures on the topic or the 2035 general plan, but I have limited time here and I actually prefer to view the council meetings at home on cable. Suffice it to say, if the city council genuinely is committed to the unique citrus flavored character of Redlands, preventing the breakup and development of this grove would be an excellent way to show it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall will be followed by Dennis Bell.
My name is Joshua Hall, and I'd like to put out a public comment on Measure G. There are conflicting stories about Measure G. One of the conflicting stories is that Measure G will help rebuild the Redlands Mall, but I don't think that's the case. The actual text in the measure says nothing about rebuilding the mall, so that leads me to conclude that the story about rebuilding the mall is a smokescreen. I believe Measure G will, when enacted, kill homeowners' property rights, kill property values, and dry up equity, and it will increase traffic in the short term, but deprive people of their private transportation in the long term. It'll increase crime, it'll increase poverty, and I believe Measure G, when finished, will be far from the promised utopian ideal that we've been sold.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Bell? Mr. Bell will be followed by Eric Hutchins.
How did I do?
Good evening. Omnitrans is facing huge projected financial deficits from declining ridership. It recently held informational meetings on proposed cuts in service starting this September. One of those cuts is reduced bus service to Redlands. So much for people supposedly clamoring to ride public transit. If Omnitrans needs to cut service, it needs to eliminate the multi-million-dollar boondoggle SBX bus that nobody rides and isn't any faster than the regular bus that travels the same route. Then one morning last week when I was walking State Street, a person stopped me. They told me they were from out of town and wanted to know where a good place to eat was. I gave them the names of the downtown eateries and directions. Before they left in the direction of one of them, they asked me why there were so many empty stores downtown. I told them I could only speculate that it was because of high rent, especially since businesses had recently been evicted for non-payment of rent. But I told them if they really wanted to know, they should check with City Hall and the Chamber of Commerce. Both think they have the answers for everything. Measure G transit villages and terrain won't solve the overpriced, so-called vibrant downtown's problems, especially homelessness. That's a fallacy. And the February 28th city manager meet and greet needs to be a town hall meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Hutchins? And Mr. Hutchins will be followed by Dr. Sam Wong.
Hi, Council.
Welcome, sir.
So I'm coming to ask for the council's help. I've, in I guess an assistance of trying to amend the city municipal code, chapter 8.04 on nuisances. I live in the Smiley Park district, a lot of close historic homes, pretty close together. And with some neighbors that are pretty heavy smokers, that actually comes through, and the way that my house is situated, and the way that their back porch is up. And so I've asked them to stop smoking here and there, and then it comes down and it comes right in the house, so we can't open up the windows. Every time I've asked them to stop smoking, they'll call the police will come in and they'll just talk with us and try to figure out what's going on. They don't want to assist at all. Code enforcement has only come to a point to where, excuse me, that they're looking at a .04.220 smoke and soot, which is the closest thing to tobacco smoke, but it doesn't state tobacco is going to be your tobacco or anything like a weed plant or whatever that could be considered to be a nuisance. And so they're kind of putting their hands up and really don't know what to do. So it was recommended that I come just kind of start this. I've already emailed Councilperson Davis about this issue just to kind of see what the next step could be. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchins. Dr. Wong. Dr. Wong will be followed by Lynn Schneider.
Send the smokers to me. Send the smokers to me. I'm sorry, I don't have coronavirus. I'm Chinese.
Come on, Sam, let's go.
Okay. Do we start it? Start. It's not working?
I guess you have unlimited time, Sam.
Oh, okay. I'm advocating against Measure G, obviously. I love the onesies. if we get rid of, if we actually advocate for Measure G, we're no longer gonna be able to see the mayor in onesies. I'm sorry, not mayor. The mayor pro tem in onesies. That's what happens with Measure G. We can no longer come up to the chief of police and shake his hand, and the chief of fire. We can't do that anymore. The quaintness, remember the general plan that we spent $900,000 for the general plan back in 2017 or so? And the prevailing comments that a lot of people said was, we love the quaintness in the city. Let's erase that. How many of you smelled orange blossoms coming in here today? Nope. Let's erase that. How about the Victorian homes? We want to keep those. All right? Stack and pack, or we're going to get rid of the Victorian homes where they can see the mountains. We'll erase that. Small town feels what they also said. Stack and pack will no longer have the small town feel. Most importantly, people like to call them home. Measure G, I don't know if I'm able to call Redlands home anymore. I don't want to call San Francisco. I used to live in San Francisco. It's no longer home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Ms. Schneider? And Ms. Schneider will be followed by Great Britain.
Hi. Years ago, there was a TV quiz show called the $64,000 Question. It was actually the most influential of the early TV quiz shows back in the 50s. Contestants answered questions, eventually leading to a prize of $64,000. Coincidentally, developers from Newport Beach and San Diego have given exactly that much money so far to Yes on G. They want to be sure to win and to change Redlands forever. But they won't be living here. And Mayor Foster may move away to a fantasy island after his term ends. But we will still be
I make
here.
enough money.
And we hear that Measure G is the only way to fix the mall. But that's not true. It could have been fixed years ago if the council and the developers had the creativity, the courage, the will, and the perseverance to negotiate under the terms that Redlands voters put in place. But they would rather try to scare you into thinking that this ballot measure is the absolute last chance for the Redlands Mall. Don't fall for it. The Redlands Mall is not even mentioned in Measure G. So here's my $64,000 question. How can you fix something that you don't even mention? Supporters of Measure G say that it will reduce crime, combat homelessness, and improve our city's services. It will improve our city's parks and recreation, support our neighborhood businesses, and create good paying jobs. Shazam! Redlands is going to be a utopia. It's too good to be true. Psychologists call this magical thinking. And you know, we're going to have a trolley powered by unicorns too. Don't fall for this. None of this is in Measure G. The entire content of the measure is about a 782-acre swath of Redlands from Alabama Street to Judson Ford, half a mile north and half a mile south of the rail line. Measure G will allow developers to build residential apartments and condos of unlimited height and density in this area. Also, don't fall for the slick door hangers, mailers, or fake personal letters from your so-called neighbors. These are all written by campaign hacks who live in Sacramento or Connecticut and do this for a living. They are fake. Don't be fooled. Vote no on G and go to saveredlands.com to join us. Thank you.
Great. And Mr. Britton will be followed by Ken Hunter.
Before I begin the Measure G remarks, I have a challenge for the council. I will pledge $100, and we'll see if anyone in the audience will do so likewise, to Children's Fund if the rest of the council We'll wear onesies to the next meeting. Do I have any takers? $100.
Thank you, whoever said that.
I don't have to wear.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair trade.
I thought we had a good thing going there. All right, give me a start right there. My timer set. Hang on a second here. There we go. As Lynn Schneider was just saying, if Measure G passes, the council can build unlimited height stack and pack apartments everywhere shown in this map here, from Alabama over to Judson Street, as far north as Lagonia and south past Olive. And the question that voters should ask themselves is, why is the council seeking this power if they don't plan to use it? They just as easily could have included height limits, density limits in Measure G, but they did not. I also encourage people to read the impartial analysis done by the city attorney. It is in your voter guide. It confirms the height limit is repealed. It confirms that the traffic restrictions and limitations are repealed. The density limit is repealed. You can read all of this in your voter guide if you have any doubt.
And you can also read the actual law itself.
Why all of the money, the last time we looked, for Yes on G comes from Orange County and San Diego developers. Not a penny from anyone in Redlands. The No on G side, a much smaller fund, is entirely funded by Redlands residents. Do out-of-town developers really have the interests of our people and city at heart? Voters should consider that. In my remaining time, I want to address this. And I've heard some of the arguments made in favor of Measure G. The mall, that's the lead argument, fix the mall. Well, the mall could probably be redeveloped under existing law with a 4/5 vote. But even if some change of law was necessary, the mall does not run from Alabama to Judson Street. A much more narrowly focused measure could have been done if absolutely necessary to address the mall. But that's not what Measure G says. Another major argument is, well, the state is going to do something really bad to us, so we have to pass Measure G now. One of the standard sales techniques is to create that sense of urgency. You gotta buy today. But we don't. At the Chamber of Commerce meeting, Mayor Foster mentioned the SB 50 was defeated, but even if that was passed, the city would have had 2.5 years to figure out what to do. So it is not Measure G or nothing. It is not Measure G or leave them all as is. We don't have to give the city council a blank check now in order to do these things. They can come back with something more modest, more limited, and restricted to do some of these things, the mall if necessary, without having to give the city council a blank check today to build unlimited stack and pack apartments everywhere from Alabama to Judson Street.
Thank you, Mr. Pitt.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunter. And Mr. Hunter will be followed by Janice Hauser.
Good evening, everyone. Measure G, whose idea was this? Not you, not you, not you. Not the idea of anyone who cares about Redlands. In fact, Measure G was written by the developers with city bureaucrats and employees. Measure G is Measure G anything that Redlands residents want or need? Absolutely not. Measure G represents top-down corruption, not the will of the people. Just a couple years ago, this council was firmly against approving a small townhome project, demanded the owner install video cameras tied into the police station to mitigate increased crime from the townhomes. Well, things have really changed since then. We reject this scheme to ram hundreds of Soviet-style high-rise apartments down our throats. Just say no to Measure G, and please visit SaveRedlands.com. That's SaveRedlands.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Janice Hauser, and Ms. Hauser will be followed by Doug Hauser.
Related.
I figured that out. So you're gonna claim him, is what you're saying?
I'm gonna claim it
Good.
back. I did it several years ago. So Greg says that the No on G people are all from Redlands, but they aren't. I'm here from up in Highland, you know? So I addressed you last time and telling you how much I love this city and this unique character. I come to speak against Measure G. For much of my career as an adult, I worked for the Democratic Party for issues that were called liberal. During that time, I sided with environmental groups such as the Friends of Earth and the Sierra Club. These groups urged us to do all we can to protect what God has given us. I fought for the proposition that created the Coastal Commission to make sure that high-rise, density populated apartments and condos did not ruin our coasts. I submit to you that communities far from the coast warrant this same protection. The beauty of the coast cannot be matched. That being said, the beauty of Redlands cannot be matched. The wonderful tree-lined streets, the spectacular views of the nearby mountains, and the wonderful individual neighborhoods. Each of these tiny communities are unique and deserve our protection. I believe that Measure G threatens all those neighborhoods. High-density, high-rise apartments will change the feel and the daily lives for Redlands citizens and those who work, recreate, and do business in this city. That's me. Can anyone deny that this proposal will increase traffic, increase the cost for all services, education, police, fire, and other emergency services? Will these services be delivered at no financial cost? And who will bear this cost? Of course, the people who own homes and businesses here. Just like a lot of cities around this state, taxes will increase. And that the tax increases are sure to follow. And you can be sure of two other things. People will move, businesses will move, and Redlands will not be the same. The people who support Measure G claim to save them all. And like a lot of the speakers before me, the mall is not even mentioned in the text of this measure. The council can both save the mall and save Redlands.
Thank you, Ms. House.
Without this measure, vote no on G.
He's not gonna be as nice as I was.
I'll try to be very nice though, which make everybody who knows me laugh. Okay, I wish to speak in opposition to Measure G. I have lived in many places in my life. I grew up in the suburbs of Long Island, New York, and lived for several years in a small college town in upstate New York. When I moved to Southern California in the late 70s, I lived in several communities in the San Fernando Valley. I've also lived for several decades in the San Gabriel Valley in Pasadena, Altadena, Glendale, and Arcadia. Now for the last several years, I've lived here in the Inland Empire. I can assure you that a community that allows a large number of densely packed apartment buildings has a much different feel than a community of single-family homes with few such apartments. And the difference is not an improvement. I've seen the effect of many low-income families and individuals moving into a community in a short period of time. It is not beneficial to the town that allows it. And this is not a racial thing either. The neighborhood I grew up in Long Island was approximately half African American and half Italian, and Jewish, me in the middle. But everyone lived in homes that they owned. People took pride in their neighborhood. They knew each other. Their kids played on the same sports teams, and the parents watched out for each other's kids. This does not happen in a community which has many renters, people who do not own their homes and do not feel especially attached to businesses. Everyone knows that renters often do not have the financial resources to care for their homes and surroundings the way that owners do. And everyone knows that apartment buildings gradually, or not so gradually, become worn down, decrepit, and less than optimally functional. Then who's to bear the cost of renovations and urban renewal? Of course, it is local homeowners and business owners, an incredibly unfair burden to place on them, and one that can be easily avoided. If the council wishes to be able to provide low-cost housing for people of limited means, which is a worthy goal, I would be happy to consult with them at their convenience. I had an uncle who was a huge real estate developer here in Southern California for many, many years, and we frequently discussed this question a long time ago, long before the homeless problem and housing cost situation had gotten as extreme as it is today. But some of his suggestions that he had are still appropriate to our situation. In any event, I strongly urge the council to support the defeat of this measure, and I urge all citizens who love their town to vote no on Measure G.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. All right, moving right along, at this time, the consent calendar, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Been moved by Councilmember Barrett, seconded by Councilmember Tate. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to communications, we have discussion and possible action relating to the designation of a delegate and alternate to participate in the 2020 Southern California Association of Governments Regional Conference and General Assembly. As the staff report indicates, I'm recommending that Councilmember Momberger represent the city to the SCAG conference. Before moving, we do have one speaker slip. Mr. Britton, you wish to address the council?
I do. This item actually does relate to this previous Measure G. When we went to school, we learned about the different branches of government, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. We also learned about the different levels of government. You have a local government with city council and a mayor, we have a county, a state government with a state legislature and a governor, and the national government with the Congress, the courts, and the president. So what is SCAG? What is this organization, the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG? It's an emerging new type of government, regional government. And you might ask yourselves, well, when did I elect my member to SCAG? Well, you don't. You don't get to elect a member to SCAG. Unlike the legislature, the city council, Congress, the Senate, president, governor, all of these politicians have to come back to the people periodically for re-election. Not so in these regional government agencies that have enormous power and an ability to allocate money. SCAG is one of the lead agencies behind the development, you've seen this all across Southern California, of this high-density stack and pack housing. And the goal is to get as many people as possible from single-family homes and into stack and pack apartments. So when do I get a chance to vote on that? Well, you don't, because it's a regional government agency that we should all be keenly aware of and not want to grant power to any government that does not answer directly to the people. Doug Hauser talked about the value of single-family houses. President Franklin Roosevelt said the nation of people that own their own homes is unconquerable. In addition to the benefits of homeownership, all other things being equal, there's less crime, kids do better in school, there's more community engagement. But it's also an enormous economic asset because over time, your home appreciates. And that's why the baby boomer generations, they have so much more wealth than the younger generations because they have appreciated homes. And the way things are going, and you force people into these apartments and restrict development, make housing prices so high, many younger people aren't going to have the opportunity to get that house and build up that equity. So the agenda is not good, and the people that are pushing the agenda in a regional, unelected government agency is something that we should not have. The decision's going to be made, should be made by people like up here. If you don't like what they do, you can vote them out of office at the next election. You can't vote out your SCAG member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. Dr. Wong, you wish to address the council on this item again as well? Where should we support it? Oh. Your time's up, Sam, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Okay.
Not a grease board, you can't talk.
My whiteboard. Well, I'm not being racist. Okay, anyway, As far as SCAG is concerned, Tony, I remember sitting with you at Augie's one time. I mean, you came to me talking on site at Augie's one time, and I really liked that idea that I can come to you, you can come to me. You were the editor for the Redlands Daily Facts at the time, and that's a very personal relationship that we've fostered over the years. I like that. I hope you don't go up to become the SCAG representative and represent SCAG and everybody else, but come back to us, come back to the people. See what we are speaking as you become the representative of SCAG. SCAG, there are people who actually speak up against SCAG. I'm sorry, other elected officials who actually speak up against the issues of sandbag as well as SCAG. I hope that you will be as independent as you had been in the past. I really do. I really applaud you for being independent and have the ability to say, no, this doesn't look right. Let's re-look at it. Let's reinvestigate this. I really appreciate that. I even remember that one time we were sitting over at the corner of that restaurant over in Brookside, and you were crawled up on the chair. And I like that. That tells me that you are one of us. I really encourage you to, as you become an selected member of SCAG or representative of this conference, I hope you'll be able to speak up for the people of Redlands and not necessarily of everybody else outside of Redlands. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Dr. Wong.